So I ghosted my coach a week before working with her because I thought that I would be able to stop binge eating on my own. And I want to talk about this because so many people have this fear before joining a program or this belief of I'm super independent, so I should be able to stop binge eating on my own. And I really want to talk about my story and talk about what's actually really common before even working with a coach. So there was one evening back in January of 2019. It was actually January 22nd of 2019. It was a random evening one night. And at the time, so 2019, I was still working at our fitness studio. So I was a personal trainer, I was a health coach, and I was helping other people with their health goals and their fitness goals. I was, like I said, personal training. I had my own fitness studio. And I got home that night, and the evenings were always a challenge for me. So everybody kind of has different times that they struggle with, food, mindless snacking. Some people it's during the day. Some people it's on the weekends when their routine is kind of different. For some people it's the evenings. It's like no problem throughout the day. Can eat super healthy all day, but then come the evenings, that's when you struggle. And for me personally, it was always the evenings that was a struggle. It's like eating healthy all day was never a problem. I would enjoy eating healthy. I'd get my workouts in. I'd go for my yoga classes. I'd do my walks. But it was come the evening times, it didn't matter what time it was. I would either, binge on, multiple dates and almond butter until like my stomach literally hurt, or it would be, just eating the lunch that I was preparing for the next day. And it was always the evenings that were a challenge for me. And so on that one night, it was the January 22nd of 2019, I remember having one of the worst binges of my entire life. And there was a lady that I was following for a while, and she had a background in health and fitness and a background in binge eating as well too. And so I remember sending a message to her because after you have a pretty horrible binge, that's when you're really motivated to get your shits together, right? You're just like, that's it. I've had enough. Like there's so many times that I've had that feeling like, that's it. I'm going to promise myself I'm never going to binge again. And I'm sure you probably had that experience after having one of your worst binges, right? You're like, I'm never doing that again. So I sent a message to this coach. I'm going to read off what I said to you. Or sorry, what I said to this coach. I've been following you for quite some time now. I've been a dieter my whole life and dealt with binging my whole life as well too. I no longer track calories and macros, and I haven't for quite some time now, almost 2 years. And at some points, I feel like I have balance, but I really don't. It's kind of contradicting because I know so much about health, fitness, gut health, inflammation, and hormones, and I teach my clients to find balance, but I'm struggling. It's truly affecting my business, my relationships, my mood, everything, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. I guess because I'm so knowledgeable when it comes to health and fitness, I'm still hard on myself, but I can't be when I'm trying to recover from binging. It's a difficult situation. These past couple of days have been horrible with binging, and it truly upsets me that my life is getting affected by this, and it has been for years, but it's become more and more apparent. So I was done. I had one of the worst binges of my life. That week was horrible, and I sent over that message. She did not respond that night. It was late. So I woke up the next morning, and guess what? I had this burst of motivation. I was like, I am determined more than ever. I can do this on my own, and I'm going to stop. I promised myself I'm just going to be more motivated, and I'm going to try really hard. Like, Lorna, all you need to do to stop is you just got to try harder. And I had this thought in my mind, like, yeah, maybe I could do it on my own. even though I've literally tried for 10 years. And I thought to myself, well, maybe my situation isn't that bad. I mean, yeah, I'm binging like crazy, but I still have a good relationship. I still have a great job. My family life is great. My family loves me. My boyfriend at the time loves me. Great job. I'm happy. I'm healthy. Like, I didn't have like health issues. I looked fine, right? I was a health coach. I was a personal trainer. Of course, deep down, there was like these crazy food thoughts and, eating way past fullness almost every single night. But I thought to myself, it's not that bad. There's some days where it's bad, but some days it's not that bad. And so I went that week. I didn't respond to her. I went an entire week of ghosting her because I thought I can do this on my own. And surprise, surprise, that week, I still had binges. In fact, they were just getting worse and worse and worse. And so I said to myself, I am going to do this because I don't want less binges. I don't want to binge ever again. And I don't even want to just stop binge eating. I want to get back to the patient, calm, loving Lorna, the bubbly Lorna that I used to be. Because binge eating does something to your mood. I was snappy. I was irritable. I was annoyed all the time. I was anxious. I would wake up with so much anxiety. Like, how much weight did I gain because I just ate so much last night? I had tons of anxiety and I just was snappy and irritable. It impacts your mood. It impacts your career. You're thinking about food literally 24/7. And I knew that this wasn't me. Like, it felt like I was living this double life where everybody knew me as Lorna's the personal trainer. Lorna's so healthy. Lorna's so fit. And yes, but also there was all this noise inside of my mind. There was self-beat up every time I ate something quote unquote bad or off limits. If I missed a workout one day, it was like the shame and the judgment and the guilt and the negative self-talk, the comparison. And so I said to myself, I want to do this for real. Like, I'm done with these cycles. I'm done with, restricting and binging and beating myself up. Like, I wanted to actually be kind to myself for once because I was not very kind to myself. I was always very hard on myself. And maybe you can relate if you also, have these high expectations for yourself and you're this perfectionist. Like, you might also be hard on yourself if you miss part of your routine or you eat something that you feel like you shouldn't have eaten or you overate and you're just spending the rest of your life like mad at yourself. Pearl said this is so real. Yes. And so I remember being like, I don't want to just stop binge eating. Like, I want to stop living a double life. I want to get back to the calm, loving, bubbly Lorna. And I don't want to just have some good days with food. Like, I want to be free from this for good. And so I immediately reached out to her after ghosting her for an entire week. And I said, I'm doing this. And right away, I joined her program. And I made a commitment to myself. Because it was always like some good days, some not so good days. Some days where I felt consistent, some days where it was just horrible. Some days where I felt confident, some days where I felt extremely not confident. Some days where it would be like binge free and then some worst binges of my life. And so I was ready to actually do things sustainably. Now, why am I actually sharing this story with you is because it is normal to have fear. So at the time, I didn't realize that a lot of what I was thinking was actually fear. It was my brain protecting me. So I knew that I couldn't do this on my own. I knew that I wanted to change. But when I had thoughts of like, well, maybe your binging isn't so bad. And well, you're not like, you don't have any crazy health issues. So like maybe your situation isn't too bad. That was my brain protecting me and trying to keep me safe. And you might have experienced this before, where you might think to yourself, okay, that's it. I'm doing this. I'm done with binge eating. And then your brain might convince you and say things like, well, your situation isn't too bad. Well, you're not like for me, like I wasn't like crazily overweight. I didn't have crazy health issues. Like I was a pretty healthy person. I loved eating healthy. I just was out of control with food. And Natalia says, please help. So let me know what you need some support with. Do you have a question? Let me know in the chat box. And so your brain might be trying to keep you safe and convincing you like your situation isn't that bad. But I said to myself, no, like this is not okay. Like I don't want to be living my life like this. It really is a habit, 100%. And this is why I have my root and rewire process, because you have to rewire your brain. This is all habitual. And this is why you have to rewire your brain out of these habitual cycles. And so your brain is going to try to keep you safe. Your brain is going to say, maybe you don't need to do this. You can try on your own. But I recognize no matter how motivated I was, like I was motivated, I was driven, I was committed in every single area of my life. But no matter how motivated I was, binge eating, you don't need motivation to stop binge eating. You need to actually rewire your brain. You got to change your relationship with food. You got to change the way that you're seeing food. You got to stop being so hard on yourself. You have to be able to not give in to your urges. It's not a motivation thing. You got to regulate your nervous system so it's easier for you to not give in to your urges. And so I recognize no matter how motivated I was, and also no matter how much I knew about health and fitness. So I have a lot of people that say like, Lorna, like, I love eating healthy. Why am I out of control with food? Because you can love eating healthy, but what it takes to eat healthy is not the same thing that you have to do to conquer binge eating. I loved eating healthy, but I felt out of control a lot of the times, especially in the evenings. And if you are somebody that enjoys eating healthy, I guarantee that there is some type of extreme that you're doing. There is some type of extreme that you're doing. You're almost like too obsessive over what you're eating. If you are too obsessed over what you're eating, if you're too hard on yourself, if you're doing something that's too extreme, well, then of course you're going to have urges to binge and mindlessly snack and overeat. And so it doesn't matter how motivated you are. It doesn't matter how much you know about health and fitness. You have to take different action to reprogram your brain. And the thing is, it's not about just tell yourself not to binge. Because when you tell yourself, I was actually talking to one of my clients the other day, it's like when you tell yourself to do something, the inner rebel inside of you literally wants to do the exact opposite. When you tell yourself, okay, try not to have any chocolate this week, all you're thinking about is the chocolate. When you tell yourself, okay, don't give in to your urges, all you're thinking about is wanting to say F it and just give in. So it's not about just tell yourself, don't do it. You have to prevent your urges from arising in the first place. Again, you have to eat exactly what you're craving. You have to have your satisfying meals. You have to regulate your nervous system through certain, even breathing techniques. And that's going to make it easier for you to not give in to your urges. You have to shift how you're seeing food. So instead of being like, oh, I messed up because I had some chocolate after lunch, you can just say, I had some chocolate after lunch, versus putting so much meaning on it and heaviness of like, I had chocolate tonight. Well, I guess I messed up and I guess I failed. Your association with foods needs to change. Because if you think that you failed, that's when you get into the F it mentality, and that's when you throw in the towel for the rest of the day. Compared to you just state a fact of like, I had some chocolate today. You don't put meaning on it because you shifted the way you see chocolate. You don't see it as I messed up anymore. You just saw it as I have a sweet tooth and I wanted something sweet after lunch. And so you had just had something sweet and you were able to move on. So you have to shift your relationship with every single food that you feel is triggering for you, that you're spiraling out of control with. You have to take those foods off of a pedestal so that they're no longer special. It's just like, I had some chocolate today versus, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm so mad at myself. I had some chocolate and there goes the day. So I'm just going to eat whatever the heck I want. And then, tomorrow I'll just get back on track. That is the cycle. So I ghosted my coach before working with her. And I'm sharing this because you might also have fear. You might also have doubts. You might also be like, maybe I can try on my own. And one of my clients who's working with me today, she actually ghosted me for 3 months. She messaged me originally in January. And then she had doubts. She's tried so many things in the past. She said that she struggled with it for so long. She's like, I'm such an independent person. Like, I should be able to figure it out on my own. She was almost frustrated that she couldn't figure out on her own. And then 3 months later, she ended up coming in and joining the Root and Rare membership because she's like, nothing's changed in these 3 months. Like, I'm still doing the same things. And I recognize like I do need support. And now she's working with me inside of the Root and Rare membership. And all she continuously says is, I wish I started sooner. Dina says, I am an anxiety and boredom eater. How to stop? Well, the first thing, so when it comes to anxiety, right? First, you got to figure out what you're anxious about and you have to regulate your nervous system. I would recommend things like breath work. There's certain breathing techniques. So even just a 2-part slow breath. But when it comes to boredom, you have to ask yourself, like, what are you actually hungry for? What are you actually hungry for? Because a lot of the times out of boredom, it's like, I'm bored, there's nothing to do. And you want to fill that void because people are very uncomfortable doing nothing. I talked about this in the masterclass that I ran this week. People are very uncomfortable doing nothing. And so you have to ask yourself, what are you actually hungry for? Is it comfort? Is it connection? Is it acceptance? Is it attention? Like, what are you actually hungry for? And then you can start meeting those needs. So if you're actually hungry for more connection, it's like, well, then maybe you got to carve out time in your day to build up more connection. Maybe you're actually just seeking pleasure, right? And it's like you have to add more pleasure in your life. I feel the need to eat all the time and I get so tired of it. I feel like I've tried everything. Dina, what have you tried? Let me know in the chat box. What have you tried? I actually just made a post on this on Instagram. Go read it. It's like, if you literally feel like you've tried everything, read this post. Go read that post. Because a lot of the times when people tell me I've tried everything and I ask them, well, what have you tried? And they're like, well, I've tried therapy. Okay, but you're telling me that your therapist doesn't even understand binge eating. Or it's like, I've gone to a nutritionist and they put you on a meal plan that's so restrictive that makes you have stronger urges to binge. Or it's like, I've, tried to just tell myself to not do it. Okay, well, you can't just willpower your way to stop binge eating. Hey, Lauren. Right? So it doesn't matter what you've tried. If you tried nutritionists, you've gone to therapy, if you have tried a personal trainer, it's like, that's not what you need to stop binge eating. I was a personal trainer. I was a health coach. Knowing about nutrition, knowing about health and fitness is way different than actually having tangible tools to help you regulate your nervous system and stop giving into your binge urges. So who was that again? It was Dina. Let me know what you've tried in the chat box. I've tried to just eat when I want and when I'm hungry. stop to think of good and bad food therapy. Okay, so I've tried to just eat what I want. Okay, so I actually talked about this. Eating what you want, that's not going to help you become less impulsive with food. Yes, you do need to give yourself permission to take foods off of a pedestal. But if you just eat certain foods, but you don't actually change your relationship with them, you don't actually change your association with that food, those foods are always going to be triggering. If you don't actually rewire your brain, you're still going to become impulsive. So I remember it was 2018. I was like, well, just eat the foods. Like, just allow yourself to eat what you want. And I felt horrible because that was more food freedom. I don't focus on, just eat whatever you want because you're also going to feel like crap. This is about, yes, giving yourself permission to enjoy the foods that you want, but you also have to know how to stop giving into your urges. You also have to regulate your nervous system. It's really hard to stop giving into your urges when your nervous system is like in a heightened state. Someone also mentioned about boredom eating. Again, you have to add more pleasure in your life. You need to be able to sit in discomfort. Everyone's so afraid of discomfort. It's like, I don't want to just sit here for 5 minutes, so I'm either going to scroll on my phone or I'm going to just eat something because it's like, I'm bored. I'm so uncomfortable doing nothing. I'm so glad, Dina, this is supportive for you. So I had a client that ghosted me for 3 months, and then she finally ended up joining the Root and Rewire membership. I ghosted my coach before working with her, so I'm sharing this because it's normal to have fear. But the badasses who conquer, like my client who ghosted me for 3 months, all she says is, I wish I started sooner. She has completely stopped her binge eating. And now we're working through a little bit of like the emotional side of things, the emotional eating, but she's completely stopped binge eating. And imagine if she let fear get in the way. Imagine if she just continued to say, I'm going to try on my own, I'm going to try on my own, I'm going to try on my own. She wouldn't be binge free today. She has 4 children and she's a way better example to them. She's more calm throughout her day, more grounded throughout the day. She used to also have the perfectionist mindset. She let that go. We're working through that. If I didn't reach out to that coach, I wouldn't be binge free today. I wouldn't be helping all of you guys. The reason I have the ability to support so many of you guys and actually I conquered myself is because I said, Lorna, you're motivated, you're driven, you're committed, you know everything about health and nutrition, but that's not what you need to stop binge eating. And I was willing to get the proper support. So if you are feeling fearful, completely normal. If you feel like I can do this on my own, it's completely normal. But I want you to get honest with yourself and say, how long have I struggled with this for? How long have I tried on my own? And maybe if you have tried therapy or nutritionist and maybe you didn't feel understood, it's time to actually get some support from somebody who has past lived experience who can make you feel so seen. I just did an interview with one of my clients who graduated from the Root and Rewire membership. I think the podcast episode is up. Let me just double check. Yes, it is up right now. And I just shared it. She's in the Root and Rewire membership. And, she shared, she was like, I've tried so many other things, but there was something about the way that you talked about binge eating being a habit that made me so drawn to you. And it's so helpful having somebody who actually understands exactly what I'm going through. That's what makes the difference. Having a badass community of other people inside of the membership, it makes me feel less alone. So you can try on your own and you will have a binge-free day here and there. But if you actually want a process that you can follow so that you know that you are becoming less impulsive with food every single week, I invite you into the Root and Rewire membership. So this is our 6 and 12-month program that's designed to help you completely rewire your brain out of these habitual cycles. This is where you know exactly when you're full and how to stop when you're full, how to actually step into the driver's seat of your food choices. So it doesn't matter how bored you are or how anxious you are, you know how to regulate yourself without always turning to food to be your go-to source of comfort, your go-to source of pleasure. This is where food stops being on your mind 24/7. This is where you stop having urges. You're less impulsive with food. You can finally eat without this pull, this urge to eat more when you're already full. This is where you become less moody and less snappy. This is where you can actually be with your children without thinking about the cookies you want in the pantry. This is where you can actually be focused at work without thinking, okay, what's for dinner? Food stops being on your mind 24/7. And this is where you actually eat like a normal person again. You have actual normal eating habits without thinking about food, without eating past fullness and promising yourself, I'm going to do better tomorrow. Just one last time. This is where you stop saying F it every time you didn't have a perfect routine or you didn't eat as perfect as you like. You stop throwing in the towel and you actually stay consistent with your food. So it's 6 or 12 months. I'm only running one final round, and then doors are officially closing on January 16th. The membership is closing for good. I'm only doing one final round where you get live coaching with me. So this is not just watch trainings. This is where you actually get real-time coaching with me. You can ask your specific questions. You can get direct feedback based off of your specific situation, whether you're struggling with nighttime binging, boredom eating, maybe it's body image, maybe it's the constant food noise. Maybe you're unhappy with the weight that you've gained and you're like, how the heck can I heal my relationship with food when I have this weight that I'm not happy with? We can talk through that. And then you have our badass community. So you never feel alone. This is the biggest game changer. Every single person who's worked with me is like, I'm so glad I finally feel less alone. These people just finally get me. Like no therapist, no nutritionist, no partner ever will. So you have the brain-based tools, you have the coaching with me, live real-time coaching with me. You have our badass community. And when you actually show up, you watch the trainings, you come in our coaching calls, you get direct support and coaching from me, you plug into our badass community so you don't feel alone, you will inevitably conquer binge eating sustainably because you've rewired your brain. So you can message me membership and I will send you the details. Again, this is one final round, then doors close on January 16th. There are certain bonuses before that time as well too. So you get monthly breathwork sessions with me when you join before the 16th. And breathwork, as I was saying, the best way to regulate your nervous system, to become less impulsive with food, to reduce stress and anxiety. And it's going to be so much easier for you to stop giving into your urges, to stop eating past fullness, to stop using food for comfort when you actually have a regulated nervous system. So that's a bonus. And then if you pay in full, you also get some private coaching with me. And there's only a few spots left for that. So again, you can message me membership and I will send you all of the details for that. So any questions on that? Again, feel free to send me a DM. I'm here to support you. I want you to know this is a really safe space. Like one of my clients said, I felt so comfortable reaching out to you because I knew that you had, there was a notification that just came up. I knew that you had gone through binge eating yourself and I just felt so safe opening up to you. So this is a very safe space. I want you to know that I see you, like I've gone through this process myself and you're not alone. You can absolutely break free. It doesn't matter how many things you've tried. It doesn't matter the fear, like it's all welcome here. It's all welcome here. I want to see you free. I want 2026 to be the year that you conquer binge eating for real. No more, I'm going to promise myself and tomorrow is going to be better. No more, like just one last time, like forget about that. You're done with that. You've done that for so many years. Like you've done that. I'm going to try. I'm going to try even harder today. I'm going to be more motivated this week, but then you're still binging. So it's time to actually make a change. I'm going to be serious with you. It's time to make a change. There's only so many times you can say, no, this week is going to be better. No, I promise I'm going to be more motivated. But if you're still in these cycles and it's been 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, like you have to do something different and make a change. And I'm here to support you every step of the way. I've gone through this myself. So this is a safe space. Feel free to reach out. You can message me membership. And like I said, I'll send you all the details. If you have any questions on that, you're more than welcome to message me and we can make sure that it's a perfect fit. But you will only have until the 16th and then doors are closing. One final round. So thank you guys for being here. I am so excited to support all of you guys inside the membership and just be alongside of you on your journey and welcome you into our badass community. So thank you guys for being here. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys soon. Okay. Bye, guys.